Hey guys, we're back with the Wano report number 11, I think.
Yes.
Are we at 11, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're at 11. Yeah, so back on my channel this time, we've got, as usual, myself, we've got Ohara.
Hi, guys.
I think you guys must not be familiar with our Twitters because we're still lacking in the followers.
Yeah.
Guys, go quit this video, go over to Twitter, just follow us on Twitter. We want more, because you guys can ask us questions there. And the first part of this video is definitely going to be us talking about a lot of the questions that you guys gave us, especially coming off of this huge chapter. I mean,
also, Morge pulled out his best audio today, just so you guys can follow us on Twitter.
For the record, I've had the mic backwards, literally backwards, the last two. Before that, it was worse. It was the mic, I didn't even have it set up. Then the last two, I had it backwards. And then this one, I figured out, like, the front end. So I think...
Man, we're getting there. Like,
it's completely different now.
In, like, 2 or 3 podcasts, it's going to be, like, the crispest audio.
You'll think we're in the room with you.
Yeah.
You'll be actually scared to listen to this podcast because it'll sound so real.
Yeah, you're basically scared to run around naked in your house when you run
a podcast. Like, oh my god.
Because we're basically
Morge and Ohara are talking to me right now. Alright. We know everybody watches this podcast naked. That's just the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you watch this podcast, we know what you're wearing right now.
Fuck. Alright, some questions.
Yes.
Yeah, so we want to start... We're trying to go for a structure, just to give you guys a heads up, basically. So we're trying to go for a structure in the future for basically, we want each podcast to be centered first around your guys' questions. Then after that, we want to do some chapter discussion. And then after that, we want to focus on one big topic that we decide upon before the podcast that we think would be interesting to talk about, that we both want to talk about. But this time, we kind of didn't have as much time to prepare, and this chapter just kind of gives so much content to talk about that there's almost no point in picking another topic. So I think we're pretty much going to be talking about this chapter the entire way through, and we're going to start off with your questions as usual. So
yeah, sounds good.
Let me take a look at what we had from last time. So, question number 1 is, how will Garp die? Dude, do you even think Garp will die?
Nah, I don't think he'll die. I think Garp is like... he's not, like, he kind of reminds me of the mentoring kind of guy, you know, from anime.
Mm-hmm.
And those have a tendency to die, but then Garp is not prevalent in the story enough to die. Like, I think that role in One Piece is more reserved for the likes of Rayleigh or Shanks.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I think Garp, like, since he hasn't had any active impact on the story while we were following Luffy on his journey, I don't think he's a candidate for dying. What about you?
No, I totally agree. Because it's just like, there's so many other like, for Luffy to lose somebody like that we also kind of have that connection to would be Shanks, I feel. Because I think from the start of the story, Shanks was kind of
marked.
Yeah, he was marked. He was the guy that we viewed as like Luffy's mentor figure, and Garp we just found out about like much later. And I don't know, I just like, I like Garp. I think Garp's a really cool character, but I just don't know if there's any like purpose to him dying as much.
The reveal in the last chapter about him, I thought was crazy.
Dude, it gives him so much more hype.
Yeah, he must be a really cool dude, and I hope we learn more about him. But yeah, I think Shanks is really like the mentor guy who's been running around basically with one leg in a coffin since chapter 1.
Just like, why? Dude, just off yourself. You're ready.
I was recently like rewatching the anime of Marineford. Mm-hmm. And you know, there's the scene when Shanks arrives and they basically like put all the crew members of Shanks, of the Red Hair Pirates and the Blackbeard Pirates, like frame to frame.
Yeah, like matching them
I'm like, how hard can you foreshadow that?
Like, you don't have to be a genius at Toei to figure that out.
Yeah, but maybe to like let that question flow into one of the other ones. I think there was a question about Blackbeard somewhere here. Yeah,
there's definitely. It might be this one with the last chapter dropping heavy inherited will hints. Do you think Blackbeard is the final villain or the world government? Is Blackbeard... Yeah, if Blackbeard's continuing Rox's will, Luffy and Rogers, like, what order of events do you see that playing out? So that's a cool question.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool question. I think we've talked about that, like, once or twice. Like, me
we
personally,
have a little bit.
I think there's a good chance that Blackbeard might be the final villain. Like, he's definitely, like, probably the main villain in a way. But I'm not sure if he's the final villain. Like... Blackbeard will definitely be like the biggest battle for Luffy, probably, and I would guess that it might be the most fleshed out in the anime or in the manga.
The most personal, maybe, and dramatic kind of, like
and I think
Naruto,
like we'll
Sasuke
really
is.
get like a like a full-fledged like 1 versus 1 of each crew member taking on the Blackbeard pirates. But at the same time, I feel that's a battle that will revolve around Raftel and the One Piece. And then I think there's still Im-sama, and like if Im-sama is not like, if he's not reserved for the revolutionaries or something like that, I think like taking down the world government will be like the final villain, basically. What do you think?
Dude, Im threw off everything for me because it's just, I was so I should have my Blackbeard video, depending on how editing is currently going. And I like having an editor because it's all just happening somewhere else and I don't have to think about it. But I should have my Blackbeard video coming out tomorrow, and I think I explain in there kind of well about why I think it makes sense for him being the final villain, even with this reveal of Im and everything like that. But because Im was introduced, I really can't say concretely anymore that, I'm so 100% certain that Blackbeard's the final guy. Because the way I view it is, no matter what, like in a nutshell, basically, so I view it as the world government and the celestial dragons and everything that's been the force that's been hanging over the world for so long. And obviously there's been this will of D that basically is going to eventually come back around to take them down, and that's always been in the works over the last 800 years. And Luffy seems to be the inheritor of that will of D to finally destroy this establishment. But Blackbeard is obviously, I mean, we all see he's obviously this parallel path that's kind of coming at basically the same destination, but would have very drastically different results if he was the one to destroy the world government versus Luffy being the one to destroy it. So kind of the way I view it is, I think you could spin it either way. Like maybe the final clash is Luffy versus the world government, or maybe the final clash is the two wills of D's basically clashing at the world government is basically in shambles, and the final clash is kind of the two wills of D's.
I mean,
determining the future. So it depends. Mm-hmm.
I think you make a fair point when you say that the world government is really like the arc villain, if you want to say so. Yeah. Because in a way, Blackbeard is kind of a symptom of the world government as well.
Yes.
Like that's a good way to put it. Pirate era in itself, kind of, like the injustice they have brought to the world kind of like gave birth to the problem itself. So I feel like from a storytelling perspective, or like from a concept perspective rather than a storytelling perspective, it would make the world government the bigger villain, if that makes sense. Even though obviously, like in the story, Blackbeard is the bad guy that has been hyped up.
Yeah.
What is maybe also interesting, like what do you think in general? Because there's a few people now who are relevant for the end game. Like there's obviously Blackbeard. There is Im-sama now, and there's also a Kainu. Like, do you feel there's any chance that Oda will put like a twist on one of the three and like either make them irrelevant in the end, or maybe like throw a Kainu on Luffy's side to take down the world government, or throw Blackbeard in the end on Luffy's side so they fight together? Do you see something like that happening?
I am glad you asked that. This is okay, because up till Im-sama's reveal, my strong feeling was that Blackbeard, like Oda was always writing about two different, two ends of the spectrum, basically. And I've said this before, two extremes, basically. And I always felt like if you go back to Marineford,
of the same metal.
If you go back to Marineford, it always seemed like it was Blackbeard and Kainu representing those two sides. And basically, I do feel like the Kainu-Luffy dynamic is just as important as the Luffy-Blackbeard dynamic. Right. And I always felt like the final battle would be some sort of crazy intersection between everything, and maybe it's Luffy Akainu first and then Luffy Blackbeard, or maybe it's Luffy Blackbeard then Luffy Akainu, but I always figured it has to be the final battle would revolve around the clash of all of these ideologies, and it would just be one big thing. But with Im-sama's reveal, it's like, okay, shit, so Akainu's not that big bad at the world government, but the last thing I'll say that makes me still believe that that little twist that you're talking about potentially could be that Akainu is clearly not happy with the way the world government goes about doing things. Yeah. And it's very possible that part of his arc, because just as Blackbeard's growing, I see Akainu growing on the other side. Like Blackbeard's growing in the pirate realm, Akainu has been traveling, he's been promoted to fleet admiral. Could his next step in his arc be commander-in-chief or something like that? And could his final step be kind of an internal coup. So basically, Im-sama is not that final villain. It ends with sort of Akainu or his faction of the Marines making a push towards power, basically, and saying, no, this is how the world should be run. Right. Especially with that sword tattoo reveal and everything like that.
Yeah, and then Luffy and Blackbeard basically like facing off separately.
Yeah, so I don't know the order of events or anything, but I just feel it makes more sense if Luffy's final world government opponent is Akainu, even if Im-sama is this new dude that's been dropped in.
Right.
What do you think on that?
Yeah, the thing with the sword tattoo is actually pretty interesting because, I was thinking recently, like, because there was also the idea going around that Aokiji is actually like still part of the Marines, and basically he and Akainu basically just said, okay, like whoever loses or one of us will basically go underground.
Yeah. That sucks. It's like winner gets to be fleet admiral, loser, we got to go join Blackbeard's crew.
I don't want to like patronize Akainu because like obviously he's supposed to be a dude who's gone overboard and like taken his ideals to the extreme. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like the recent chapters made me think a little bit that he's maybe portrayed in the wrong light a little bit, or we see him in the wrong light a little bit, maybe at least. Because obviously he's cruel and like overachieving with his like following his absolute justice. But at the same time, like if he actually like is smart enough to like, or like he seems to be conscious enough to make smart decisions, even if they go against his absolute justice, right? Which surprised me, like letting Aokiji live and like, or maybe even plan it out and like make him go undercover. Maybe that's all like just set up. You don't know. And then there was something in the last chapter I'm trying to think where I was like, wow, that I didn't expect that of Akainu.
Yeah, like maybe him saying
with
that
the warlords, I think it was. Because he was like, well, like he should be the first one who would like raise his hand and like try to abolish the warlords, right? Because like all like pirates are evil, exactly. But then he's the one who tells Fujitora, no, I'm not sure if that was a smart idea. We kind of need them. And then the second thing he does is going into the room and saying, we're not going to Wano, like.
Even though it could be the most aggressive Akainu thing to do.
And that would be the Akainu thing to do, or at least we thought would be to say, okay, we go there, no questions asked, we're gonna fuck this place up. But it kind of legitimizes why they allowed Akainu to push for Fleet Admiral in the first place, because he seems so irrational. But like now that we get to see more of him, he actually seems to be able to keep his ideals in check. Does that make sense?
I know what you're saying. Like it depends. So I guess simple example is like let's pretend we just like cut pre-time skip out of the entire story and we've just been reading post-time skip. Like the view of Akainu just post-time skip. If you just read about his character through post-time skip, he's not a bad dude.
No, just has some anger management issues, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a little anger management, maybe a little dickish at times. But yeah, you would think no worse of him than Sengoku back in the day, I think. So, to me, it kind of comes down to, maybe I interpreted it wrongly pre-time skip. I felt reading pre-time skip that Oda was putting a lot of effort into portraying Akainu a certain way and representing a certain thing that had to be dealt with by the end of the story. And maybe I'm reading too much into the fact that, Akainu gave Luffy his scar, he killed his brother, Luffy still seems to hold a bit of a grudge against him. But maybe it is just that I misinterpreted that and I'm reading too much into it, and really it's the world government, it's him Maybe. That's the main thing. So I don't know on him at the moment. I'm still holding on to my initial understanding of it, but I do agree that if we just, from everything we've seen post-time skip with Akainu, he's not that bad. He's just a dude. He doesn't seem as dickish as like Blackbeard obviously seems all the time.
Do you think there is a chance that like Oda literally came up with Imu after the time skip and was like, I wanna put
up
that
the
in.
Stakes. Yeah, up everything. No, I'd be so upset. I don't think Oda works like that. I mean, I'd like to think Oda doesn't work like that. Do you think that?
I mean, I think definitely that Oda has thrown a few curveballs in his own story that he didn't plan out in the long run. I think he is smart enough to only. I think he has I think he said in an interview that he has the structure for the story, and I think.
And final
he leaves himself room for like spins and twists, obviously, but I think he's smart enough to like only go into or like be flexible in areas where he has enough, or who has built enough foreshadowing, if that makes, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
So
and you can argue that from Doflamingo, right before the time skip, Doflamingo had a conversation with somebody from Cypherpole or something, and he was saying, "Oh, I got my orders from even further above." So,
yeah,
you can argue that Im had been hinted at least for a long, long time. So,
right.
It depends how much you want to. Wait, let's get another question in. Unless you have something else to say on that, because I want to get at least somebody. Oh yeah, I wanted to get Lun's question in because Lun is a former or a current patron of mine. I'm not sure. So he said, "Do you see a return of Smoker and Tashigi to the story? If no, why? If yes,
that's favoritism, by the way. I'm just saying.
No, it is favoritism. But to be fair, he's the second question. He's the second question that came up. So I'm also going by priority. Little hint: patrons get special consideration.
If you join my $100 Patreon God tier, you can ask a question and everything.
But that's a fair question, right? Do you see the return of Smoke? I mean, it's kind of straightforward actually, because for sure, like you see a return of Smoker and Tashigi to the story, right? I wonder if he meant to the Wano arc.
I think I guess he probably means in terms of will they be relevant in the story again? Because I mean, I think it's without a question that they will appear in the story again.
Yeah,
but like
Oda
me personally,
just, like,
I
them
don't.
Off the board.
Yeah.
No more Smoker and Tashigi ever again.
That would be kind of weird.
Yeah, I've done enough with that guy.
But I honestly don't think that Smoker is gonna be relevant to the story again. If I'm honest, because he's been like. Over the time skip, it didn't look in Punk Hazard. It didn't look like Smoker really did that big of a development, if you know what I mean. And even though like Oda is hinting at like Smoker being that Marine that will change his mind and like basically go against like basically flip sides and go against the world government, but that also like by now I kind of got the feeling that he's more pushing that role towards Kobe, maybe. So. I'm not sure. Are you? I think you are one of the people who were thinking that Smoker would be a pretty likely candidate to join the Straw Hats, right?
I still hold on to that because I like to look. I freely admit I always try to give Oda benefit of doubt when he's doing stuff with characters. So in my mind, when it's becoming more clear that Smoker does not seem like Luffy's Garp, but at the same time, for a long time. Literally since Punk Hazard and a lot of the stuff since Punk Hazard, I'd been feeling like Smoker could be more built towards the crew. I still hold on to that as a very interesting character arc for Smoker that fits into some of Oda's ideologies that he's pushing throughout the series, which is that, the line between pirate and marine is not as concrete as you're supposed to think. Like, that's the thing from the very start of the series. And Smoker from the very start was that marine who was like, never trust a pirate. And his whole arc has been, okay, maybe you can trust a pirate, to like, okay, this pirate really does some good stuff. So I do definitely think that that's a potential arc for him. But I think it's just really clear at this point that most people wanted Smoker to be Luffy's Garp, obviously.
Right.
That's what people wanted for him, even if Oda was never really pushing him to be that role. But I think people are just going to be disappointed when he's not that Garp. And I agree that he's not that Garp. So either he is a crew member, or he's just a Marine that happens to kind of help against the world government, but I agree that, like, Kobe is the more interesting Marine within the Marines at the moment, basically.
Yeah. I think, do you feel in general that there's still a lot of room for new Straw Hats? Because I don't want to take away, like, too much from my Jinbei video that's coming out this week, but
yeah,
Jinbei is already,
I want to
like,
talk about that next week, yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about Jinbei. Mm-hmm. But, like, my point being, like, Jinbei is already, like, him joining so late is already causing some trouble, but then Jinbei at least is a character that has gotten a lot of pre-character development. But like now, for example, there isn't really so much time anymore to really introduce new characters that are gonna be able to join the Straw Hats. I mean, I think there's a good chance, for example, that Wano is still gonna give us a new Straw Hat. Doggy.
Yep. Yeah, you're saying?
Oh yeah, well yeah. So I think Wano might be one of the last chances for a real new Straw Hat, because while I think it's possible that like towards the end of the war there's still like gonna be people joining the crew, but in the end it's not gonna matter when the anime is like going into the end game in a way, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, no, we've touched on this a few times, but I definitely agree. Like Wano, if you join the crew in any arc after Wano, it's like, are you really part of the Pirate King's crew? You're just hopping on to get to Raftel. It's just not really the same.
Yeah.
But Wano does feel like, at least to me, it feels as though it's going to be a very, very big arc. So I could see, obviously Jinbei's joining, but I could see some characters. I've mentioned before Momo. I feel like characters who've already gotten some of that. Yeah, who've gotten some of that groundwork done. So a Momo works. Even if you don't like Momo, I'm just saying, I don't think Oda cares as much if you like Momo or not. I didn't personally care for Jinbei, but Oda added him. So, it's up to him who he wants to add and how he, works with their arcs and everything like that. Okay, I'll see about that. But, yeah, like a Momo or even, again, that's why I go back to Smoker. I think Smoker could work because he's been I think a lot of us feel more attached to Smoker's character than maybe a Brook, or I don't know. It's hard to say. Brook has become more endeared to fans, I think, recently, but it's hard to say.
He's gotten a little bit more. Especially in Whole Cake Island, like Oda made up for a lot of
missed time.
He had over the especially after the time skip. And Brook was a really unlucky case because his arc was the one before the biggest loss in the Straw Hat history, so wasn't the best timing for him. But yeah, what do you think, for example, about a potential Vivi comeback? Because that would be a character that would have enough backstory with the pirates.
Dude, I don't know what Oda's trying to do with Vivi okay, here is my... I guess I'll give a vague theory for what I feel like Vivi's ultimate role is. If the world government and everything like it is going down, but the idea is that it does have to be rebuilt, and they're not going after literally the world government, but also the celestial dragons in general.
Right.
So if the world structure kind of goes down, but it needs to be sort of rebuilt, I wonder if Vivi is being positioned by Oda to be, her end destiny is kind of to be that sort of leader for the world going forward, because none of the Straw Hats can do that. None of the Straw Hats can do that. Luffy's not going to be that dude, or Nami's not going to be that. But, Vivi is she's the Queen of Alabasta coming up soon.
Mother of Dragons.
Yes, I don't know. Jeez.
Break of chains.
Dude, but look, well, I guess, yeah, maybe we were reading Vivi's story this entire time, and then Luffy's got to kill her. But she'll always be his queen. That would be
a dope.
You're always my queen. But
you'll always be my queen.
You'll always be my
Vivi. You'll always be my queen.
Someone makes a shitty supercut of Luffy saying that throughout the series. Oh man, now you made me sad over Game of Thrones again. What happened to that? But
are you hyped for the new quick off topic? Are you hyped for the new
stuff coming off?
Yeah, the new stuff they're publishing. I read that the Blood Moon thing is gonna... Apparently they're gonna try to push that out next year, which feels a little bit early, I feel.
I'm not gonna be hyped up for it just based on the way Game of Thrones ended. So my assumption is kind of...
But they're not gonna have D&D on that, so...
True, but what are they even going off then? Because they don't have George R.R. Martin, as I understand, he hasn't...
Oh, okay, how...
No, but how is he... Okay, what are they pulling from exactly? Are they pulling a fully fleshed out story with characters and dialogue and everything written? Or are they just pulling from, the lore? Because I don't know exactly. If they're pulling from the lore, I feel like they'll fuck it up. If they've got, a book to work off, then I think they might be solid.
Allegedly, there's a couple of, new shows coming up, right? And so, the Blood Moon thing is going to be based on the lore as... I guess as detail-rich as it's fleshed out in the books. And then, the rest will be, I think, in close coordination with Martin.
Okay.
But then, for example, there is, I think, one that is being rumored to be made is, about the Targaryens and the Blackfire Rebellions, I think. So I think, there's, he's written a whole book about that.
Okay.
So,
okay.
I'm curious. I think just even if the story turns out not to be so great, just the imagery in those shows is just so great. I mean,
yeah. We're kind of spoiled because Game of Thrones production value is so high. It's kind of we can complain about the dialogue and stuff as much as we want, but there's so much great stuff.
The real problem with season 8 was, or even with season 7, was that the earlier seasons set such a high standards in terms of plot line and story, in character development and character dialogue. So they kind of dug their own grave by slipping off that standard. But let's get back to One Piece.
Yeah, well, last thing on it I'll say real quick. Have you, just because I'm wondering, Have you ever heard of the book series His Dark Materials with the Golden Compass and stuff like that?
Did they make a movie about that? Because
they made a shitty movie to read.
Yeah, that was a shitty movie. I didn't read the books. No.
Mm-hmm. Okay, they're pushing that for HBO next, and that's the show that I'm actually very much excited for because I really like that book series.
And I think there's also something like I think they're producing something for Dunes.
There's a Dune. I've read that book too. I haven't read the full series, but I read.
And Dune. I think they're doing a Wheel of Times adaptation too. I think I read somewhere. Did you read that?
Dude, that's Wheel of Time. Wait, have you read that?
Yeah, that's pretty dope.
But I heard the author died partway through the series. I don't know if I could read a series where, the like if Oda died partway through the series and someone picked it up. I don't know if I'd
did he? To be fair, I'm just like I'm like kind of stuck with like book 8 or 9, and I know there's like 13 or 14 out there. I might be wrong, but like yeah.
So what I've heard, you probably ended wherever he died or something like that. Then, but I guess. I don't know. I don't know if I could read a series where I know that the author dies partway through, and then it's like, can you imagine like One Piece just being written by somebody else and drawn by something, like all the little character interactions? It's like fan made basically. Like
it's suddenly it's Kaguya.
Yeah, I don't know. Suddenly there's all sorts of new
Kaguya.
shit. Yeah, suddenly Blackbeard and Luffy and Akainu are all.
What I'm most excited about though is like the new Lord of the Rings TV show that's coming.
Wait, so I've heard that is that actually the Lord of the Rings itself that it's readapting?
Oh yeah. That's a series. Like I think it's like the Second Age or something that they're like relying on, and I'm like, dude, I love One Piece, but like I'm a real Tolkien
Lord of the
nerd.
Rings man. Yeah. Oh, you are? I never knew that. Actually.
Yeah, I love that series, man.
Wait. So they're not adapting the whole story of Frodo, Sam, Aragorn.
No.
They're going further back, right?
Like I think a couple of thousand years earlier. I'm not sure. I think there's not too much detail known yet, but.
Is that Silmarillion?
It's part of the Silmarillion, yeah, but like I mean, like Tolkien has written so much shit. There's so much.
I don't know the full breadth
all
of
over
it.
the place.
Okay, that'll be cool. That'll be cool to watch.
I'm curious how it's going to turn out.
When I first heard it was like the Lord of the Rings is being adapted, I thought it was the same story as the movies back then.
I think that's I thought way too early.
Yeah, the movies did it so well because I don't know. Even if you go back and rewatch those movies, they hold up so really, really well. Like if they came out today, it's like those are the best movies. I mean, best fantasy type movies or best. They blow away anything Marvel's doing right now. I think, for example.
Like, I mean, like the cinematography there is just.
It's just a completely different level. Like it's better than any blockbuster movies coming out today.
And then the Hobbit happened.
And then the Hobbit happened, and then it just everybody forgot about it. It's like whatever. That's the thing.
Yeah,
we should talk about One Piece real quick.
We're gonna start a channel just talking about
that. Yeah,
about movies and TV shows.
Let's get 2 more questions in because sorry guys, this is on me because I actually did not have a lot of time to record in today. So let's try and do 10 minutes, 2 questions, something like that.
Doggy.
Yeah, I'm back at my old place, guys. I'm not at my new apartment, so you can hear Paco again. Paco is my dog,
but he's not snoring, so that would be a nice throwback.
Shit.
Let's see. I mean, what do you think? Maybe let's get into the Blackbeard and
let's just get into Blackbeard.
Rocks thing.
That we can end off on that basically because that is a lot of questions are roughly that.
Okay, then maybe we can put in between the Shaki question maybe because I think that's the last.
You want to cover the Shaki? We can do quick ones basically. Like Shaki is quick, I think. Like
Shaki. Do you think she's part of Rocks?
Shaki?
Probably, right?
She was, I think, confirmed to be part of Rocks, right? With the she's around 40 years ago or something along those lines.
Not really confirmed, but I think like everything hints.
Yeah, everything hints at it basically. So she might be one of the pirates named. I don't know. My personal theory is that out of the pirates named, we got some mention that there are lots of important level 6 prisoners that escaped from Impel Down, but we haven't seen them yet. I like to believe that some of the Rocks pirates were, the fringe ones that we heard about. Yeah, that's my personal belief.
Do you think we'll see Rocks himself again in the story? Like, do you think he's the lurking legend,
right? Yeah, that's the lurking legend, right, dude? It's not Kaido. We knew about Kaido before Oda made that statement. So.
I don't think it's Kaido, but like, I think there's still stuff. I mean, I'm still. Are you? For example, are you 100% sure that Odin's dead? Did we ever talk about that?
Oh shit, is Odin? No, I strongly believe Odin is dead. I pretty strongly believe that Odin is dead, but
we don't know, right? We didn't see anything yet, right?
No, it's just like to me, it makes sense that would be the story. Like, if Odin showed back up in the story, I'm very excited to hear his story, by the way, because he's been hyped up so much to be...
Oh, yeah.
The most interesting flashback character I think we've ever been hyped up to hear about, I think.
Yeah. What about Toki?
Oh, okay, you can throw Toki. Dude, there's so much stuff right now. There's so much stuff I want to see.
Right, so... I'm not a strong believer in that we'll see that either of them is still alive, but it's possible, right? Like,
there's some weird Toki is Komurasaki theories running around right now. I have no idea
but that would be kind of weird.
That would be absurd. Kawamatsu can't recognize her. I don't know. I mean, that's just kind of weird. It's really weird. But I don't know. There might be something more there with Toki.
Yeah, but then we still have like the silver axe. Like, I really hope that we get to meet Rox. And I like the theory that he's living inside, like that he's part of Blackbeard. That would be cool.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that.
But I think there's still also like just like the few name drops we got would still be interesting to see those as well, right? Like the silver axe, and then like what's the Chinese name? Shoku.
I see. Ochoku / Wangzi.
That might
be. I'm seeing.
Yeah, that might be Shaki actually. I mean. If that's
you think that?
But it's a
be
guy,
Shaki?
right?
Yeah.
I think like the historical figure is a guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Shaki was part of the Rox Pirates, like pretty sure. But I think there's still like I think we're probably still like over the next couple of arcs, we're probably still gonna run across one or two of the Rox members, the former ones.
I for sure, because it just makes sense. Because I think Oda very rarely inserts names or drops names without actually circling back to them.
Especially dropping them as like he actually like introduces them as like big shots.
Mm-hmm.
What I think was interesting with, for example, the admirals was that like Oda kind of dropped with like Fujitora and Green Bull. Oda kind of dropped in there that there are random super strong characters running around the One Piece world that basically don't belong to anyone.
Yeah, that you can draft into admiral level. And that's insane to think about, actually.
It's like, shit.
It's like, you just pick these guys up off of some islands out there?
Yeah, I'm like, just chilling.
Yeah, it's an admiral level dude.
For example, like for Fujitora, I'm also really curious what his story is. Like, what did he see that made him cut out his own eyes?
I strongly believe it's the Wano backstory, the whole thing, because it
would be right. That would be so cool. Like if that tied back in, because he should be from Wano, right?
Yeah, I mean everything. Dude, the chapter ended with such a strong like emphasis that everything circles back to Wano in a way, basically. Like not everything, obviously, but so much circles back to Wano. So. I'm certain that we're seeing one little thing, for example, Wano is hard to get into, that's been hyped up and everything like that. Not for Fujitora. He can float a whole whole fleet of battleships up there if he wanted to and stuff like that.
Could Fujitora be Denjiro?
Okay, the one thing about that is, in my opinion, is that Kinemon ran into Fujitora at Dressrosa,
and he
saw him, and he didn't recognize him as the
thing. Then it was like 20 years ago, right? So
it was, yeah. Maybe they don't but then Fujitora, in my opinion, should be able to recognize him.
Kinemon, right?
The theory that I've kind of been running with in my head canon is that Fujitora is the former shogun of Wano because
so the grandpa of Momo.
Yeah, the grandpa of Momo, but very possibly, because to me that makes sense. Like, Odin's father also being very strong, that would make sense to me. Yeah. The Shogun of Wano has been hyped up as, like, a very significant position that Orochi's not really deserving of. So to me, it kind of just makes sense. Like, where would you pull an admiral-level figure from?
Could be a daimyo.
Maybe the Shogun. Maybe a daimyo or something. Like, a runaway important figure from Wano to me makes sense for Fujitora.
I think we only know 2 daimyos, right? Like, former daimyos. We know Odin from Curry, and then we know like the Zoro-looking guy.
Yasue was a...
Oh, and Yasue was one. And then the guy from Ringo. But then there's still 2 regions left.
Yes, you're right. So I'm trying not to think about all the little things we don't know about Wano yet, because there's so many more, like...
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, even just meeting the random 4 other mafia heads, I was like...
Dude, can you believe how much shit is going on at the moment? Like, we just...
I don't know.
I completely forgot. Like, I just remembered back to the last chapter, or like the last 2 chapters of Wano, and like, I completely forgot about the numbers, for example, and like,
Oh yeah,
I was so hyped about that, and now it's just like,
now it's just a thing or whatever.
We'll
but
get back to that.
It's so weird because I want to weirdly get back to Wano and see everything going on there, but I don't want Oda to stop this train of giving us all this stuff. If he had a way of somehow just like doubling his work output and just giving us twice as much every week, I'd be so happy.
I feel he could be doing a lot more with the cover stories, to be honest, but...
Yeah, because, honestly, why not? Because he spends half his time doing just, like, random drawings, which are cool, obviously. But to be honest, I know some people like looking at them a lot. I personally just skim through them as soon as it's not a cover story, because I'm disappointed it's not I basically just check, new cover story? Nope, okay, moving on to the chapter, basically.
Yep.
So, unless it's a color spread, of course. I love the color spreads.
They're nice.
Yeah, wait, so let's just quickly talk about Rocks and Blackbeard. And then we'll close this out.
I think we can, I think we can definitely say that Rocks didn't have the Yami Yami no Mi, because Whitebeard would have known that his captain had this fruit, and he wouldn't have been as surprised by its powers when he was encountering Blackbeard, right?
I do think that, but okay, I like giving Oda maximum credit all the time, but sometimes I do think that he does like play it a little loose with those sort of because, for example, Roger had that straw hat for so long, as did Shanks,
but
and
no
then
one
that didn't.
it.
Yeah, nobody comments on that with Luffy, so I do feel like Oda does play it a little loose with certain things. At least with that, that's one thing that I felt. So I can see the possibility of Rocks having the darkness.
But then again, with Roger. Like, when he was really in his prime and famous...
Yeah, he didn't have... Then he had that nice-ass hat.
Yeah, he upgraded.
He's like, sure, Shanks, you can have this...
So I was like, you look weak, boy.
Yeah.
You need that straw hat. Gives you extra lives or shit.
Yeah. Roger, your best hat? No, it's like my backup hat, but it's your main hat now.
It's good enough for you, man.
Yeah, it's good enough for you.
Once you become a Yonko, you can give it
you can get the good hat. But I definitely would rather. I personally don't like the idea of like the past generation just having the same fruits. So like
it would be.
I wouldn't like Roger having the Gomu Gomu fruit. I don't like the idea that Rocks would just have the darkness fruit. But I wouldn't rule it out because if you think that Blackbeard inherited a lot of ideas from Rocks, then maybe it's the idea that I really want this darkness fruit that Rocks also had. Although Blackbeard said that he saw it in a book. So it's implied that maybe it's not necessarily from there.
He might just be hype about just be really a fanboy of the historical figure,
Oh yeah, you think no actual connection to Rocks?
Just writing fan fictions on the one Whitebeard ship about the Rocks pirates.
It's gonna be called the Saber of Zebek, and that's my
exactly.
That's my ship name.
Shipping Zebek and Roger,
Yeah.
So well. I just I sometimes I kind of have to pause and think how crazy it is that Oda just threw this crazy pirate crew in randomly way past half point of the story. I'm like, this is so random.
I was saying this in my my little patron podcast or whatever, but basically I thought it was such a cool story, partly because for the longest time we've been hearing about Roger, obviously, and Roger's the king of the pirates, but the only feat that we had heard of from Roger, we knew he tied with Whitebeard, but all that told us was that he tied with Whitebeard. Yeah. That's the same thing as being that's not a personal feat. Basically, what I'm saying is, for all this time, he was the king of the pirates because he had gotten all the way to the Grand Line, and that's what we knew of him. That was
because he was good at sailing.
Yeah, because he was good at... I was like, okay, so that's his thing. But at the same time, the hype around him is so... the entire story is taking place in his shadow, right? The entire pirate world exists in his shadow. So what was he like back when he was around? And then to get this story, which was basically that he was the king. There was this pirate crew where all the other strongest pirates in the world were basically united together under one dude. Yep. And Roger, obviously with Garp's help, but Roger took down that group, basically, and that sounds like the king of the pirates sort of material to me.
And you know what I think is interesting, because for me, for the longest time, I kind of had the impression that Roger was obviously strong, but to me, it kind of felt like he was just good at pirating. He was good at having a smart crew, getting around, getting away, getting the information he needs, fighting when necessary. Kind of like Luffy does it right now with his crew, right? So, but like now, like the more I feel like the more info we get about him, the more it seems that he actually was pretty badass.
He was the king. Yeah, he was the king back then. I don't know, that was such a cool story, because it's such an outrageous story if you think about it. Like Kaido, Big Mom, Whitebeard were all in the same crew. Shiki were all in the same crew, and they had one captain or whatever. And they lost to Roger. Yeah. Roger plus Garp. I'll keep throwing that in so comment sections doesn't attack me. But that's just such a cool story. That sounds like a story that sets your legacy, obviously. Yeah,
that sounds like a movie that has to be made.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that kind of gives you an idea of like what Luffy has to top in terms of legend-wise, which is just really cool to think about.
But then again, I'm sure that Oda will also like let Luffy take his own route in a way, you know?
Yeah.
I'm sure he's gonna. I mean, I think we don't have to argue that he's gonna throw a few twists in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just gonna be Roger's story. It's not like Blackbeard's gonna unite Kaido and Big Mom and stuff under that. That's obviously not happening or anything like that.
Like Luffy's Roger, just out of rubber.
No, yeah, I mean, like Luffy doesn't have a Garp, like we already talked about.
Yeah, for example,
like, his story is totally different, and he's obviously gonna do what Roger wasn't able to do before. Yeah, he had to. What do you call it quits and kind of go to the execution stand and everything like that. Yep. Just last thing, I guess, on Rocks plus Blackbeard. Do you think Rocks is Blackbeard's dad?
No.
Okay, you don't like that theory.
Well, like you said, like why? Like, wouldn't he know the Yami Yami no Mi from his dad and not from a book? Kind of.
True.
You know?
True.
I think
maybe he only looked at the design.
I think Rocks looks more closely to Dragon.
You gonna say Dragon? Yeah, dude, I don't even know what to make of that, because that hurts my head to think about a little at that point. It's like,
I don't think that it is.
Like,
I don't think Dragon's Rocks, but I think they're sure in some way or form related, probably. I think.
Interesting. I just don't know if that's like a character design similar, because I'm trying not to think like overcomplicated in my head, because I've already gotten so used to Luffy's grandpa is Garp, Luffy's dad is Dragon. Now if it throws this whole extra thing and like Blackbeard's his brother or something along those, I don't know what I think.
We should talk about Luffy's mom sometime.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. There's other topics we can start making a little list. Like next time we can talk about Jinbei. Some other time we can talk about Luffy's mom. I think we're gonna call it for this podcast, because I've gone over by about 15. Yeah, so I hope you guys all enjoyed this video. Again, you can follow us at Ohara the Fox. Yes. Is that correct? Ooh. And at Mr. Morgeman. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. Definitely go subscribe to Ohara's channel if you've not already done so. And you can catch us all on the next Wano Report.
Peace out.